Chairwoman Bastien, Vice Chair Gonzalez, Commissioners, and all others in attendance today. My name is Josephine Novo, and I am proud to serve as the Legislative Chair and District 13 appointee to the Miami-Dade County Commission for Women. The CEDAW report is the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. In September of 2015, the board enacted an ordinance adopting the convention and its principles, as well as the International Women's Rights Treaty, first adopted by the United Nations in 1979 and now adopted by 189 of the 194 member nations. As a result, Miami-Dade County has made a strong commitment to upholding the status of women in our communities. Part of this commitment is our partnership with Florida International University in the creation of our annual Status of Women report, which collects data in 4 areas: economic development, safety, health, and education. Based on these results and feedback from key community stakeholders, we create recommendations in 3 key policy areas to present to all of you each year, which brings us to our first policy area this year: violence against women. I'm gonna come through here. In the last year, we have seen several concerning statistics regarding violence against women in our communities. We've seen an 84.7% increase in rape alone, a staggering and concerning number. Over 300 more domestic violence cases and 286 forcible sex offenses. These numbers call for action, which is why the CFW is recommending the creation of 2 new CVAC centers in Miami-Dade County in underserved areas to be identified by the administration, as well as a multimedia marketing campaign to advertise these 2 new facilities and raise awareness for CVAC locations as a whole. These services cannot do anybody any good if nobody knows they exist, and as of right now, we are lacking locations in the north and west parts of the county, underserving these populations and these women at need. Did you have a question? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Lastly, we recommend that the board adopt the Domestic Violence Oversight Board's recommendations to the Domestic Violence Leave Policy. The Domestic Violence Leave Policy, we are happy to see that the board has already begun to take action and enacting this in legislation, and this crucial change is going to provide so much assistance to the women of our county. It's going to provide them with paid leave and awareness training for employees and supervisors. Moving on to our next key policy area, Black maternal mortality rates. We found that only 57% of Black women receive adequate prenatal care. Black maternal mortality has increased by nearly 3 times, and that Black women have the highest infant mortality rates. This is why we urge the BCC to authorize and fund a maternal health fair to be held by the Commission for Women, bringing local partners who will provide educational prenatal delivery and postnatal services. And lastly, the CEDAW data has identified economic opportunity and the wage gap as an area of need for the women of our community. There is currently an 18% wage gap amongst full-time female workers as opposed to their male counterparts. This figure has increased 5% since 2011. Average earnings for a full-time woman was $41,454 a year compared to $50,577 a year for men. That's $9,123 less per year. And this disparity persists even amongst county employees with a 16.7% wage gap. Women's median pay for positions in the county was $64,522 compared to men's median pay of $77,446, a staggering $13,000 less on average. This is why our recommendation is for the county to conduct an analysis on the county employee workforce and determine why a pay disparity exists and not just simply where it persists. The goal is to find out why the disparity happens and create a roadmap for internal solutions across departments and leadership levels. This concludes our recommendations for this year. Thank you again, Chair Bastien, Vice Chairman Gonzalez, this body, and the administration for the opportunity to discuss our findings and collaborate for the betterment of our community. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to our fabulous Executive Director, Rose Martin, and our wonderful legislative committee who works so diligently every year to put these recommendations together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the facts and all the work that CEDAW has been doing over the years. I have a question pertaining to the high level of violence, the increase of violence. I'm concerned about, you said 80% increase.
It was an 84.7% increase.
What do you think is going on here? What's going on?
I think that we are not seeing enough visibility in these communities. Our director, Rose, and I have been meeting with several groups such as the Women's Fund, the Human Rights Law Clinic, and other key organizations. And quite frankly, there is not enough visibility in the community. There's several organizations in several counties, including other groups like the White House, that create databases on violence against women. And they create this transparency that's open to the public and visual. And so that data helps groups, helps governments, helps politicians create laws that are actually effective and work to the benefit of the safety of women. When these numbers are occulted, it's a lot harder for individuals such as yourself to create relevant policy in these areas.
Thank you. So in addition to the recommendations, do you do anything to facilitate some of the changes?
Yes, of course. So I became very recently the legislative chair of the committee back in February. And ever since then, we've enacted a number of activities, such as meeting with these groups. Before, we were not so vigorously meeting with these key community stakeholders like the Women's Fund and collecting their input. We are following the blueprint for CEDAW. The CEDAW report is a national situation, and so we are following their blueprint for best practices to be able to collect the data and input that we need to better create next year's recommendations, as well as to create outreach initiatives. I'm currently working with our director, Rose, to create outreach events. One of them is a disability resource fair for mothers, and then another would have to do with the violence against women and creating panels and visibility for these women to tell their stories and to make the community aware of the dangers present and others such as yourselves.
Thank you. I don't know if my colleague has any question.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. Ms. Nova, right?
Yes,
So first and foremost, I just want to say that you did a spectacular job.
thank you.
You did an amazing, amazing job, and the way that you handle yourself is very admirable.
Thank
right?
you.
If you're not in law school, you need to go to law school.
I'm starting in August.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations. You're going to be an amazing, amazing trial attorney, and my law firm's always hiring.
Thank you.
Specifically, I wanted to ask about, you mentioned, I had some questions on crime, but the chairwoman was hit it on the spot, and I think she was able to get those answers. I wanted to talk to you about maternal care, because I think family is extremely important, and I think that there's not enough emphasis on just in general, how hard it is to have a child. A lot of people don't understand that, and so when you're telling me that, especially in the female African American community, we have a high risk of mortality rates. Is this on mothers? Is this on babies? Is this on both?
It's on both. So
On
we're
both.
seeing a high rate. So as I mentioned, Black women have nearly tripled their mortality rate in childbirth, and they have the highest infant mortality rate. And in fact, we just got our updated figures for the following year from FIU, and that number has gone from triple to 5 times the mortality for Black women in childbirth. So we're seeing this in the children, and we're seeing this in the Black women giving birth.
That's insane. That's insane. And then, so you also mentioned prenatals. I don't think enough people understand how important prenatals are, and how that can make a huge, difference as to whether, a child survives or not. And so you're saying that, specifically in the African American community, there's no access to prenatals?
There is a lack of access, that is correct. I think there's also a lack of education, right? A lot of women don't realize just how important prenatal care, prenatal vitamins, those regular checkups are. And in a way, it goes hand in hand with the recommendation of not just the maternal resource fair, but the CVAC centers, because the CVAC centers provide health checkups, pregnancy tests, all those types of resources to women. It's not just for women who have faced violence. It can cover a myriad of different things. And so by expanding these services, creating more centers, right now we only have 2 CVAC centers. One of them is in the south, but as I mentioned, we are lacking in the north and west areas. And so we're underserving these communities. And women who have this need don't have a high ability to move around. And so it's imperative that they have these resources close to them, that they are educated, and that they are provided with everything they need to be set up for a healthy lifestyle for themselves and their children.
So you mentioned a health fair. Can you elaborate on that?
So that would bring
you didn't
together-
say health fair, but you said something along the lines of an educational component for the community, right? That can focus. I mean, look, I'm thinking women in general, right? I think 100% we if these numbers are what you're saying they are, we definitely need to focus on the African American community. But I think women in general, the education component is very, very important, right? Like I'm gonna be honest with you, like I'm obviously I'm not a woman, but I have a 7-month-old child, right? And so I became very, very I guess involved in this issue about a year and a half ago when my wife and I were trying to have a baby. And there's a lot of things that I had no idea about, but neither did my wife, even though my wife is much more intelligent than I am, right? There's a lot of things that we kind of learned on the fly. And so it's worrisome that this information is not out there for the community. So I'd like to work with you guys to do something in my district. If you can, Ms. Nova, right?
Yes.
If you can talk to my chief of staff, who's probably somewhere out there, I'd like to work with you guys to do something in my district and try to see maybe how we can replicate that.
We would be more than happy to host something in your district. As a women's board, we care about all women, right? Of course, these data outline specific groups such as the African American community, which we must also pay attention to, but I'd be more than happy, and I'm sure Rose would be happy, and so would our members, to do something over in your district and provide those resources to them, because education is key for these women, and they do need to be connected with these resources adequately.
100%, and just access to prenatals. I'm in. I want to help.
Thank you. We're more than happy to collaborate with you and with any other commissioners that would love to host an event with us in their districts.
Thank you, Ms. Nova. Vice Chair?
Thank you so much, and thank you, Madam Chair.
I mean, Vice Chair of the board.
No, I'm talking about chair of this committee. First of all, let me just say, great presentation, and these numbers are spot on. Dr. Martin, I have a question for you. In particular, how do we, in your humble opinion, give us your top 2 strategies? How do we fund these projects that would allow for you to get the word out, and how do we increase your capacity and your bandwidth as it relates to your research?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am new to the role as director. I was a community psychologist. And so when I took on this role, I was a board member for almost a decade. So I'm very familiar with CEDAW. It's something that's incredibly amazing that our community does. That's one of its kind, really. So it was never signed by the US, but we adopted it locally. And there's a blueprint, actually, that our legislative chair mentioned, Josie, called the Cities for CEDAW. And I went directly to that blueprint to see how we could really implement policy or recommendations that are not just great on paper, but that are sustainable, right, and transformative, and can really drive meaningful impact. So one of the first things was to identify key stakeholders. So all of these things that we see happening, Black maternal mortality rates, violence against women, there are already strategic partners, allies, organizations, and agencies that are on the ground directly addressing these issues. They are already doing the work, and they have a lot of the answers. They have a lot of the data. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was build capacity by working with them. So I've reached out to the Human Rights Law Clinic, FIU, as Josie mentioned, and the Women's Fund is a huge ally, and they have great ideas for actionable items that can be done. But really, we just need like your partnership. We need the word out. We need to be able, I know that I have taken it upon myself to disaggregate the data and to present it to each of the 13 district commissioners one by one, so you can have a snapshot of what is directly happening in your zip codes, like what's happening in your community, and also to get your feedback on how to address it. Because you know your communities as well. You're there day in and day out, and you also know the organizations in your communities that are working to address a lot of this. So really, what we need more than anything is a partnership.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Dr. Martin, thank you so much for that presentation. I guess my question is to the county attorney: if is there a process that you can recommend to us where, through our Madam Chair here, that we partner with what Dr. Martin has explained to us as a necessary partnership in order to make sure that the research and the data that they have is being shown not just in certain districts, but a conversation that's being had across the county?
And Commissioner, it depends. So one thing that the Commission for Women can do is they can bring specific things to the board, another presentation. They can submit things to you directly and then work it that way. Or this committee could request information from the commission, or a commissioner can sponsor items to work with the commission. So it really, there are a number of things that you can do.
Can I?
Anything else, Vice Chair?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it was just for me to ask whether or not you intend to adopt their findings and make it part of a broader resolution. And then that resolution would then be allow for us to have a broader conversation countywide under your leadership.
Yes, indeed. As you indicated, there are a lot of partnerships already out there. And I don't think it's advisable to reinvent the wheels. Women's Fund of Miami-Dade County, for example, whom we work with very closely. I think CEDAR could work with them, and then I'm interested in engaging, starting a conversation to see if together we could put. To respond to your inquiry, first start with a conference, and from that conference to come out with a few resolutions to work on throughout the year. These partnerships exist, and then I'm very proud about that. But I think what I took out from your presentation is that based on this steep increase, and I'm really shocked by the increase in the violence, 80%, 300 additional cases. The mental health I know about, but I didn't know the prevalence of it, and then the wage gap, because vice chair of the commission and vice chair of this committee, it's all related, right? It's interrelated. When we look at the wage gap of women making so much less than men for comparable positions, and then we know that there are two parents' household working, and still they cannot make ends meet because of this wage gap, and it's all related to access too, because we live in the richest nation in the world, but we also know that it's very expensive to access healthcare, especially for people who fall in the middle. There are people who are not qualified for Medicaid, and then they make too much money to get any insurance, health insurance, for example, and then they are unable to pay. So these women fall in the gap. They fall in the gap. So the wage disparity, has an impact on all these different results that we heard today. So I'm interested in meeting with you to see if we could work together to put and to include Women's Fund of Miami-Dade County, which is doing an organization that has been doing a wonderful work. I was very proud to partake in their recent luncheon where 1,000 women strong, got together to raise some of these issues that you're raising right now. So I think they are a good partner that I'd like to take to the table so that we can come out with a conference that your district could join, all the different districts could join, and from that conference, we can come out with a few resolutions to work on. So my office will reach out to you and then start this conversation. And then I'm looking.
I do want to add, I'm sorry, we gave you, so this is the Commission for Women exists as a board by ordinance, but so does CEDAW. So we have an ordinance that we produce in conjunction with the Commissioner Auditor's Office and FIU, a status of women report, identifying disparities in those areas that Josie mentioned. So you have you have a report, a book, and there are 3 very specific recommendations that we are asking for. For the sake of time, we couldn't go through it in detail, but they are here, and we would definitely love to continue the conversation.
Yeah, we have it. Do you have it? Commissioner Mike? Okay.
Okay,
So we are
thank you.
looking forward to it. Again, thank you. Congratulations on starting law school.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you,
looking forward
Commissioners,
to
also
it.
for your time and attention.
Yes,
We're
wonderful.
so excited to collaborate.
Thank you so much. Okay, now I'd like to open a reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard. I did not receive any cards. Do we have any cards? Is there anyone who would like to speak? Please come forward. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to speak. Start by giving us your name, your address, and you have 2 minutes.
Won't even take 2 minutes. Sarah Harold, I'm with Bills and Sunberg, 1450 Brickell Avenue, 23rd floor. I'm here on behalf of the YWCA of South Florida and the amendment to the restrictive covenant that you have in front of you. So I just wanted to let you know that we are here in the event that any of the commissioners have any questions regarding the plans for the property, which is an amendment to allow affordable housing, and we're obviously here in favor of it.
All right, thank you so much. Madam?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair. Each and every one of you, a happy belated Mother's Day to all the women out there and some of the aunties and God sisters that are taking care and filling the gaps. I just wanted to add, I'm very happy to hear about Sadaw's focus. You could imagine living on one block, in Liberty City and having 4 women punched in the face, by guys who are already on probation, some with on their legs on, we've got this thing that we share called hurt people, hurt people. I'm Madam Renita Holmes, Executive Director of Wave of Women in Public Housing, Education, Finance, and Development, and I'm bringing the real. And as I'm getting older, I'm finding myself more susceptible because when you're that one woman that speaks out and you're living in poverty and you can't move, I've moved 4 or 5 times. I think there are some gaps when we talk about that issue of disparity with African-American inner city women because we did the status of African-American women along with the Black Advisory Board about 4 years ago, and we made some phenomenal findings. We were working out of Little Haiti. I'd like to ask that you take in consideration in bringing that back. While there were other groups such as MDEET that missed some reports on behalf of women, that's why you didn't know things were scaling up, and they have scaled up. The age gap in the number of women, and senior women like myself, who have been abused or attacked, who wear wounds, who currently wear wounds that I can't strip down. I basically would love to do that, but hurt people do hurt people. I think the lack of conversation with police department, because some officers are hurt, and the way that you turn away from being in a area where 4 women are punched in the face and nobody goes to jail and they're scarred up and it's habit. I'd like you to just sit with me. I'm not here trying to hold evidence. And then by sending me back, by not providing me with safe housing, which is one of the first that HUD requires safe, decent, and sanitary housing, there are some gaps that need to be identified that I don't think the cultural difference and divide by those who are partnered up, so to speak. Well, you need front line, and there are front line, those of us who make small wages, who can't move out of it, who can't stand up in our community and have some blocks. I really wish my commissioner was here. And our District 2 and District 3 suffers because we're development. The last thing you should afford to do is have your child abused or you abused or lose your child because you can't find safe housing or can't afford it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Holmes, I don't remember. Did you give your address at the beginning?
My address is, I'm a VAWA.
Protected.
I'm unprotected, so I will not give it, but it is registered with your clerk's office. Who don't know?
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much. And I definitely would like to have you engage in the part of the conversation.
We would. I really call upon the Black Advisory Board. There is data that you have missed that's been provided. You just don't know it's there. And I most definitely will forward our copies to you since we initiated, did the survey, still walking, and still having the same experience. But we're fighting women. But the only thing we get for being fighting women in our own area and living in it is put in jail with a quickness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else who wish to speak? All right, see no one approaching. I'd like to close reasonable opportunity right now. And with that, Mr. Attorney, any change?
Yes, Madam Chair, there's some preliminary matters, some of which are noted on your changes sheet. There is a missing Exhibit A to item 2C. It should have been handed out by the clerk's office as the Declaration of Restricted Covenants running with the land. And then item 2G is also missing an exhibit, attachment E, which is the Miami-Dade County Rental Regulatory Agreement, also should have been handed out by the clerk. And Madam Chair, you have an amendment that you wanted me to read into the record for item 3B. If you would like me to do that right now, I
Please do
will.
so.
Okay. There are a couple scrivener's errors in that item. So first of all, there's a scrivener error in section 2, line 4 on page MDC 026. The word amended is misspelled and will be corrected. There's also a scrivener's error in section 5.9 of the lease, which references the term developer. It should reference the word tenant instead, and then wherever the words PHCD is mentioned, that will be changed to HCD, which is the current initials for the department. In addition, Commissioner Bastian moves to amend the amended and restated ground lease, which is attached to the resolution as attachment A, to require that after the expiration of the tax credit period, a maximum of 49 units shall convert to unrestricted market rate units. Therefore, on page MDC 042, Article 5, titled Use of Premises, Covenants Running with the Land, Section 5.1 is to be amended to read as follows. Subsection I, the word initially will come before the word 100% of the units. And then at the end of that sentence, after 80% AMI, the words based on current market rents in the area will be added. Additionally, there will be a new subsection 3, and all other subsections after will be renumbered. Subsection 3 will read, after the expiration of the tax credit compliance period, the tenant shall convert a maximum of 49 units to be unrestricted market rate units with no limitation on maximum AMI. In no event will these units reduce the 191 RAD units. And then, of course, the scrivener errors are located on MDC 048 to replace the words tenant from developer, and also to replace PHCD to HCD. Those are your changes. A motion to set the agendas in order.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the amended agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right. So the agenda is set. Do we wish to bifurcate any of the items?
Madam Chair, after careful consideration of all the items that are here on this agenda, I move the agenda as a whole as amended.
Second?
And just for the record, Madam Chair, item 3D is no longer on your agenda, was removed, so it will be everything but 3D.
Okay, all right. 3D, right? Or
It's noted on the official agenda, but just
Okay.
making it clear
Okay.
to the committee that 3D was removed from the agenda.
okay, all right. So you're moving the balance. Do we have a second? A second?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. No one opposed, okay? Anything else, Mr. Attorney?
Just a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move.
All right. Meeting adjourned.
He's impressed upon me and all of us time